As a wise northern man once said, winter is coming. And with that, it also comes for you and your bike. So what I'm going to be doing in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a really quick, brief rundown of what you guys should be doing as to how to prepare your bike for winter storage. Okay, so welcome back to the TwoOverFour YouTube channel. Now, as mentioned in the introduction, I'm going to be giving you guys a really sort of brief rundown as to what I do when I prepare my bike for winter and what you guys can do to make sure your bike is prepared for spring when it comes back around again next year. So the first step, and what is perhaps the most hotly debated topic online, is to whether you should fill or empty your fuel tank over winter. Now, for me personally, I like to fill the fuel tank up. The reason really for this is just because it protects the fuel lines from drying out, any of the rubber seals drying out. It also protects any condensation or moisture building up sort of in the fuel tank itself, which if left to its own devices over winter can actually turn to rust. So for me, I actually prefer filling it with E5 fuel and then adding in a fuel stabilizer, which in my instance is Stable Fuel Storage Stabilizer. What this does is it essentially neutralizes the water content in the ethanol in the fuel, because what that ethanol actually does is it absorbs that water out the atmosphere, and that is what actually causes the fuel to break down over time. So that's kind of what that E10, E5 rating stands for on the petrol. So obviously the E10 has 10% ethanol content and the E5 has 5% ethanol content. So for me, I think the best option really is to fill the tank to absolutely the brim it can be, add the fuel stabilizer and then leave it over the winter. So we're going to take the bike out for one last little ride around, give her one little blast out, and then we'll come back and show you guys the other steps that you should be taking when putting your bike away at winter. So we've got the girl out. This will probably be our last outing for the year, which is a bit of a shame, but it's just such a nice bike and it's been so well looked after in the past that I don't feel like I can do it justice by riding it in the salty road. So we're going to go fill her up with petrol like we said we would, just so we can store her with a fuel tank of gas. But yeah, hopefully we'll just have a nice little calm ride out now. Just sort of one last time, one last little bit of fun before we put her away for the winter. Now those clouds up ahead are looking a little bit worrying, so I'm not going to hang about too much because the last thing I want to do is get caught in the rain, because I am wearing nothing with water protection on it, so I'm going to get quite wet if it doesn't go well. To still be a little bit careful because these roads are quite damp still. Being in the UK, we get a hell of a lot of rain along here, especially once it hits sort of the autumn months. You know, the sunny days are far and few between, so on days like this where we can get a little bit of dry weather and the rain isn't coming till later, well, it's supposed to not anyway, but look at those clouds, I'm not sure. Yeah, we're going to go fill her up now while we've got the chance, and this will probably be the last time that she's out. That's the bumps on this bike. I don't know if this will be shown across on camera, but this bike is bloody uncomfortable at times. What else is nice about the GSXR 750 is at sort of these lower revs, sort of 4,000 or 5,000, where you're just sort of cruising about. I suppose it depends what you like, but it's not obnoxiously loud. It's only once you really sort of open her up that you sort of get that additional noise, but it's actually livable this sort of, you know, around town. It's just effortlessly fast. Right, let's get her wound up, shall we? God, I fucking love this bike. It's so good. choice of fuel. I've always been a lover of all things V-Power. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than your other fuels, like you've got Tesco 99 here in England, and this is I'm pretty sure V-Power is a 97 octane, but I think these are good for really anything. And obviously the best part is they are E5 rather than E10. I'll talk a little bit more about what that really means in a bit, sort of the difference between E5 and E10, and why if you're running something like this you should only ever use the E5. But for now we'll fill her up and then we get her back home away for the winter. Hello mate, pump 4 please. Oh. Alright, last fuel stop of the year is complete. Let's get her home, because that rain is really starting to look threatening now. I mean, we've got a cleaner anyway, so it's kind of not here nor there, but just for my own comfort. This is sort of typical autumn weather really in the UK. It's nothing to shout about. It's not cold, it's not warm, it's not sunny, it's not rainy. It's just sort of a bit nothing really. It's kind of weird because I've been sort of looking at the YouTube analytics from previous videos, and I see that like there's a few viewers from the US, which I'm quite shocked at really, considering the sort of small size of the channel. So this is kind of a realistic look as to what England looks like most of the time. Because you see these like moto vloggers in America who just seem to be in hot sunshine all year round, which of course makes me jealous. And this is kind of how close I live to the sea. It's I'm very fortunate to live where I do. It is a lovely part of the country. I mean, especially you can imagine when sort of the sun's out and it's a bit hotter. It's a lovely place to live. Okay, so now we've got the bike back filled up. Adding the fuel stabilizer is really, really simple. Again, it's just a can of this, which is about, I think I paid about £13 on eBay. On the back, it just has simple instructions as to how much you need to add to your fuel tank. One thing you do need to know is the capacity of your fuel tank. So in my case, it's 17 litres, which equates to sort of about 4 gallons. So this says 30 millimetres treats 2.5 gallons. So quick calculation, we need to add about 45 millilitres. So it doesn't have to be super accurate. Just gonna add that, got myself a nice syringe so that I can measure it out, add it to the fuel tank, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now, step 2 is any essential maintenance you need to do before putting her away. So I'm talking about sort of chain cleaning and lubrication and changing your oil and filters. Now, the real reason for changing your oil and filters prior to putting it away is as your oil goes through its sort of life cycle, as it gets hot in the engine, the oil additives itself actually heat up and sort of burn and dissolve, and in their place form something called hydrocarbons. Now, hydrocarbons are actually the components that cause damage to your engine over long term. So for me, leaving them over winter with that burnt oil in the engine itself, I don't feel that's beneficial. So for me, an oil filter and change is always necessary. Now, I only changed my oil and filter maybe 2 weeks ago when I changed the gearbox seal on the other side, as you saw in my previous video. So for me, it doesn't make sense to change my oil again, because again, the oil is pretty much brand new. I've sort of done 100 miles. So for me, the maintenance is all done, but any maintenance that you might want to get out of the way before, it just sort of saves having to do it in spring as well. When you want to get the bike out and you're excited, you don't have to be thinking, oh great, I've got to change the oil and filter. So while you've got the time in winter, best thing that you can do is carry out any essential maintenance that you need to do on your bike. Okay, so moving on to step number 3, and that is to wash the bike. Now, arguably this is one of the most important parts, because the last thing you want to be doing is putting your bike away over winter, loaded with crud, loaded with crap, that will just absorb moisture and will just cause rust, damage, spots to appear where they weren't before. So making sure you've got every sort of nook and cranny that you possibly can before putting it away, really, really important. Now, I had tried to get some kind of edgy, jazzy shots of the bike when it was being washed, which I've already done outside. Unfortunately, I think I got the white balance wrong, because in the videos I've seen, it just doesn't look right. So unless I can sort of work some magic in After Effects, then it's probably not gonna be in the video. So I'm not gonna wash the bike again, but what I'm gonna do is just gonna give a little bit of advice as to a few of the cleaning products that I use to make your job a little bit easier. Number 1 is a good fallout remover. Now, I use Car Pro Iron X, and what this essentially does is it gets out any harder, built up material on your wheels, for example, iron filings off of the brake pads. Over the year, these sort of build up, so before you put them away, it's just nice to get the wheel as clean as it possibly can be, so just using this will just help with that process. Product number 2 is a good tar and glue remover. Now, ironically, I don't use this for tar or glue removing, but what it is good at is removing chain lube. So again, over the year, as the bike's used, chain lube can kind of build up on the inside of the rim, which is really, really sticky and hard to get off. And this stuff just makes really light work of it. It just makes your job so much easier, less effort, less time, and it's about a tenner for a big litre bottle like this. So it's really, really worth it for the time and effort saving. Number 3, not a really important step, but it's a step that I think everyone should do, and that is to properly protect the bike before it goes away. So in my case, I have used the Car Pro Ceramic Quartz 3.0. It's quite easy to apply. If you're a totally beginner detailer, maybe wouldn't recommend it, but if you've had a bit of detailing experience over the years, then it's quite easy to use. All you really have to do is sort of clean the panels off before you ceramic coat them properly, and it's quite easy to apply, just 2 coats. It takes less than 2 hours, but again, it just protects your bike from getting those micro scratches on over winter. So that's all there really is to it on that step. It's quite easy. You can wash the bike however you want, however you do it. But yeah, the main sort of importance is just making sure that you get as much dirt, as much grime off the bike as you can before you put it away for winter. Step number 4 is to fit a battery maintainer / charger. These are really, really important, because over the sort of probably 4 or 5 months that you're not going to use the bike, that battery is sitting there depleting voltage the entire time. And if it's too long at a low voltage, then the battery is essentially dead on arrival. So when you come to fire the bike up in spring, it's not going to do anything. So first thing to do is locate where your battery is. For most bikes, especially sport bikes, it tends to be under the seat. So you're just going to want to pull this seat off, find the battery underneath there, which is what we're going to do now. I'm going to show you the battery charger that I've got, how easy it is to install, and what a massive benefit and cost-effective item to own a battery maintainer is. Okay, so before moving on, I thought I would quickly show you what battery charger I'm actually using. This is the Noco Genius 5. It's a 5 amp hour battery charger / maintainer. You don't need to get one that's this beefy. They do a Noco Genius 2, which works just fine. This is just the one that I found cheapest on a good deal on the internet. Now, when you first buy these, they actually come with crocodile clips installed. You don't particularly want to be using these. These are big and bulky and can get in the way. So what you can do is, if you look in there, you can see it's actually a little 3mm Allen key. You can undo that and the wire will slide out with a little ring end on it, which you can then put over the battery much nicer. So that just kind of helps with the installation process, but it's really, really simple. This plugs into the other plug that you saw just sort of dangling at the bottom of the bike, into a wall charger, leave this, and it will just maintain and top up the battery as needed over winter. Okay, and just like that, with the power of editing, the battery charger is installed. Now, I've just left the seat off so you can see how I've installed it. Really simple. It's just the positive line from the charger to the positive terminal on the battery, and the negative black line to the negative terminal on the battery. Run it through the back of the bike to a nice little opening under the seat here. And as you can see, I've left the charging plug just dangling down there. Now, I'm not going to be keeping this on the bike the whole year, so I'm not too worried about looking too neat. So for me, this will do absolutely fine. But if you do want to run it all year, maybe if you don't use your bike so much, maybe just take a bit more time, tuck in sort of that big inline fuse down in there, making it a bit tidier. But for me, this works absolutely perfect. So for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer as well. The time and the money that this will save you come spring next year, when you can start your bike up and you haven't got to worry about taking the old battery out or buying a new battery, it's just so worth it. I've made that mistake last year with my ZX6R, and it just had such a hassle then going to have to buy a new battery, being excited to get on the bike but couldn't. So Again, a really, really cost-effective way to do it. Yeah, the charger is a bit of a cost at first. I think this was £65, but that's the cost of one battery. And if you're using this for year after year after year, then instantly on the second year, you've already saved yourself some money. One other thing that you might be able to see on the camera is that the terminals on the battery are actually blue. Now, I've used a battery terminal protector spray. You don't have to do this. It's just, again, another sort of extra layer of protection you can add to your bike. It's just protecting these connection points from any acid buildup, any corrosion over winter. Again, it's not a must do, but for me, it's just a bit of an easier thing to do, especially because the can is only about £6. So yeah, that is the battery charger installed. Really, really simple job, like I said, and well worth it. So we'll now move on to the next step. Okay, step number 5 is protecting the tyres. Now, I know this is a bit of a weird one. I don't actually see this mentioned that much online, but I think it's quite important, and again, might save you a bit of money come winter. Now, the reason I say protecting the tyres is because tyres are a bit of a weird thing over winter. If they're left on the same spot over a prolonged period of time, what they can actually do is form flat spots where that rubber has been in contact with the ground. So then you come spring, the bike comes out, you're driving it along, and you'll have incredible vibrations through both the front and the back wheel where the vibrations started. So again, that will probably cost you another couple of £100 for new tyres. Again, puts your riding time back, just puts you in a shitty mood. So to avoid that, you can either, number 1, place the bike onto a front and rear paddock stand. Now again, I use the Oxford Premium Line stands, really, really cheap, quite affordable. Especially at the moment, they've got a sale on at J&S. They're about £65 each, so £130 for the pair, which is a really, really good deal. So if that's still available while you're watching, go and snap them up. And what these will allow you to do is to raise the front and rear tyre off the ground so that there's no pressure on those tyres at all over winter, so there'll be no flat spots. Now, the second option you can do, which I don't like doing as much, is to overinflate the tyres. So say you need a 36 PSI, you can then increase it to sort of 46. You know, don't go mental with it, don't put a 90 PSI into a tyre, which will be essentially a waiting bomb to go off in your garage. So 46 PSI is probably a good amount. But what it does is it basically just puts that little bit more air pressure into the tyre so that when it is stood on its side, the actual tyre itself doesn't form those flat spots. So if you don't want to spend the money on the paddock stands, overinflating the tyres is a good alternative option. Plus, paddock stands also have the benefit of actually just looking quite cool. I think there's something really, really cool about coming over into your garage in winter and seeing your superbike up on jack stands. It just looks, I think it looks a nut. So it's completely up to your choice and what your budget is, but for me it's paddock stand. So that's quite a nice, easy step, and we'll move on to the next one. Step 6 is applying anti-corrosion to your bike. In my case, I like to use ACF50. You've probably seen this a lot online if you're in any sort of motorbike group, any kind of motorbike forum. They'll rave about it. And in my opinion, it's for good measure. It's really easy to apply, it lasts really long, and it really does a great job at what it says on the tin, which is providing anti-corrosion. So for me, I'm not going to give you a full in-depth detail as to where everywhere you should on the bike, but for me, it's as simple as just getting microfiber cloth, spraying a small amount of it onto the cloth, and just applying it to the areas which I think is needed. So basically, any metal areas on the bike, any plastic areas are safe to use as well, even on bodywork, although I wouldn't really recommend it on bodywork. I would double recommend this step if you are keeping the bike outside under one of those waterproof covers. Over winter, they tend to build a lot of moisture up underneath the cover, which is kind of sometimes unable to get out. So as that moisture builds up, it will start eating into those sort of sensitive areas on the forks, on the calipers, sort of around the headstock. So they're the areas that you really don't want to rust. So if you can, get some ACF50. Again, just apply a really small amount onto any areas that you don't want corroding. And you only have to do this once, by the way. This isn't something that you have to sort of maintain over winter. This is just sort of a one-time application across any metal, plastic components across your bike. And I should also throw in a quick warning as well. Don't use this on your tyres, your brakes, or your seat, because this stuff is really, really slippery. The last thing you want to be doing is getting this out in spring, sending it down the road and finding out you've got no brakes. So yeah, just apply it carefully. Don't be stupid with it, but it's a really, really good formula. Like I said, easy to apply and easy to rub off when you come to use the bike again in spring. Okay, so quick recap of where we're at. We have filled the bike with fuel, added the fuel stabilizer to stop it breaking down over winter. We have put the front and rear tyres on paddock stands to make sure that the tyres don't become deformed when they're sat for so long. We have added a battery charger maintainer, again, to make sure the battery isn't dead over winter. We've washed the bike thoroughly to prevent any sort of build-up of crap or grime over winter. Protected the paintwork with a ceramic quartz. We have protected the metalwork and any plastics on the bike with ACF 50 anti-corrosion. So the next real step from me is kind of more of a selective one, I suppose, depending on your budget. Now, security over winter is a big thing. You're not going to be seeing or touching the bike much for the next 6 months if you're like me. So making sure that security on the bike is top notch is really important. So I have had a tracker fitted to this. It's the Bike Track Tracker. It was quite a lot of money. I think it was around the £500 mark. Then plus you have to pay the £10 subscription fee a month. For me, it's worth it. It's just that peace of mind. It allows me to see the bike whenever I want. It allows me to get alerts if someone touches it, if it moves, if the battery voltage drops too low. So I can see quite a lot through the app, which is actually really, really helpful. But again, that's not within everyone's budget. So just making sure you do have some sort of deterrent from thieves, especially if it's kept outside. So one thing you can do as well is add a cover. So if you've got a bit of a nicer bike, they can't see what it is, then they're not going to be as tempted to come and get it. So if they see an S1000 RR sit outside, they'll probably come and get it. Whereas if they see, I don't know, a Honda Cub, no offense, outside, they might not be as keen on stealing it. So yeah, just making sure you have a good level of protection on the bike over winter is really, really important. And again, that kind of tied in nicely with the final point of the cover. Again, the elements over winter are pretty crap. And if the bike is uncovered for several months, it is likely that you're going to suffer with some corrosion, some dirt build up in places where you don't want it. So if you do have to keep the bike outside over winter, as much as I'd advise against it, get yourself a nice, breathable outdoor cover. These can be sold by most sort of big reputable companies these days. I know Oxford do one. I've seen True Tension have released one. So you've got quite a lot of choice. So just kind of look at online reviews to see what fits you. Get yourself a nice outdoor cover, and as well, if it's indoor, get yourself an indoor cover. A bit like I've ordered one for this, which is yet to arrive. But again, it was just keeping that dust and any crap. And if you're moving around in the garage, then hopefully it'll protect the bike that little bit more. So yeah, just making sure the bike is secure and covered over winter is a really important step. Okay, and with that, another video comes to an end. Hopefully this, guys, was a bit educational for you. I know that putting a bike away at winter may seem like a tempting idea just to chuck it into the garage and forget about it for 6 months. But believe me, you really, really thank yourself when in 6 months you can just pull the bike out the garage, press the start button and she's ready to go, rather than having this whole shopping list of issues that you've got to work your way through to get back out on the bike. So it's worth just doing that little bit of preventative maintenance whilst you can, while you've got the time over winter. So that's it for the video, but not the end for the GSXR this year. I've got a few more video ideas planned. I've got some modifications that are happening soon. There's some parts of the bike that I want to strip apart to clean and sort of make a little bit nicer. So I've got a few more videos planned on the bike coming up, so it's not the last you're going to see of it, as well as a new bike hopefully arriving within the next couple of weeks. So yes, things are still moving fast, still aiming to get a video out every week. Apologies that there wasn't one last week, but had a bit of a weird ear infection, so that was a strange time. So yeah, that'll be it for this video, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around again. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and do like and share this video. At this early stage on the channel, everything that you do really, really helps. So again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.